Welcome back to another exciting episode of Nailed It Motherhood Podcast. I am your host with the most, Tamara Eldridge. Before we jump in, if this episode speaks to you or makes you laugh, nod, or say same, go ahead and hit that like, follow, or share button. And hey, don't be shy. Drop us a comment or review so other parents can find this space too. Every bit of love truly helps this community grow. So, go ahead and show us some. Today, we're flipping the script and shining a light on fatherhood because parenting isn't just a mom thing. Both moms and dads are involved. Our guest is a dedicated single dad navigating the ups and downs of co-parenting, showing us that dads have stories, struggles, and major victories too. Whether you're a father, a mother, or somewhere in between trying to figure it all out, this episode is for you. So settle in and let's dive into a powerful conversation about showing up, staying present, and nailing this parenting thing with my fellow advocate and artist, a Mr. Quincy Kofi Swatson.
Oh,
Hey, Quincy.
hello. Thank you, Tamara, so much for inviting me to be on your podcast. I'm really excited about doing this.
I'm so excited that you decided to join. I know this has been a long time coming. We've been trying to get this recording going. So I'm very, very excited to see what this conversation is going to lead to. I love to hear from dads. So here we are. We finally get to talk.
Really
We've been
excited.
talking about
It's been a
this
long time waiting.
a long time, but we're going to have a good conversation today. I do appreciate that you wanted to join and you wanted to be a voice for fathers in this hood of parents. And, before we jump into our Tavi tale, can I ask you one question before we get into your parenting journey?
Of course.
Thank you. Can you just tell us a little bit about who you are outside of being a parent? Like, what lights you up, Quincy? How do you spend your days, or anything that you think that we need to know about you? Because this is your episode today.
Wow, thank you. That's a lot. I feel so honored to have an episode. I've been a parent for so long, for the past 13 years. It's hard to think about myself outside of parenthood. But in the past couple of years, I've really been exploring just who I am. Becoming a parent at 19, no one at 19 knows who they are. But now I'm starting to figure out who I am as a creative, as an artist, as a philanthropist, as an entrepreneur. So those are some of the things that I really enjoy doing. And as an athlete, I am a tennis coach. That brings me joy. I love playing tennis. I learned how to play tennis in high school, and I've kept that with me. I teach my children tennis. They don't like it as much as I like it, but they do it to entertain me. I also play basketball and golf, and I'm an avid runner. I run as many weekends as possible. I'm in a run club, so I really like to stay active. I'm also a creative. I do photography. I do some acrylic on canvas, and I do some mixed media, working with some different fabrics, some different print styles, and creating some collages and some mosaics and different things with different material. Just expressing my creativity as it comes, and just doing that for myself. I think it's part of my self care journey. It's part of my expression journey, and just my mental health journey as I kind of navigate life and express what I need to express in creative ways. But I think those two factors of me being a athlete and an artist really kind of define what I do in my spare time and what I enjoy doing, what makes me smile and what I look forward to week in and week out.
I love that. I truly love that. So I have known you for probably about 2 years
Mhm.
almost now. And I did not know that you did all of those things. Even when it comes to your art, I only knew that you were really a curator of art,
Mhm.
but I didn't realize that you actually did the work. Like you painted and you do mixed media and things like that. That's awesome. Have you put any of your artwork in any of your shows that you've had?
No, I have not, and I don't plan on it anytime soon. I think one of the most enjoyable part of me creating is I do it for me, and I don't do it for the eyes of anyone else because it does change a little bit of your work because you're trying to conform to what's it or hot right now or what's really kind of popping. But I just do what motivates me, what brings me joy. And I think that's the most authentic creativity. And I feel privileged to not have to make art to sell to survive. At the same time, I do other things to make ends meet, which takes away from time to create. So just trying to find that balance. But I haven't put anything in any shows yet. But the day that happens, I'll let you know.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that perspective because I wholeheartedly understand where you're coming from.
Mhm.
We're doing some things to make ends meet, but the passion is what really drives us to get up every day
Mhm.
and just exist in this world of crazy. So thank you for that. That was a really it was a very beautiful story.
Thank you.
Um, so I really wanted to just kind of get to know you a little bit because we don't have a bio for you. So, and that's fine. We don't have to have a bio for you. You just explain to us who you were. So before we get into your personal parenting journey or your history segment, I would like to share my piece that I always share every episode, and that is our Tavi tale.
Mhm.
And today's Tavi tale I am going to share about aging and
Mhm.
critical questions and wit because that is what my child is for me. She is a critical thinker at the spry age of 6 years old. And sometimes it's very exhausting. I look at her and I'm in awe just by her development mentally and just like getting to see her learning how to read and do her math and get excited about the counting blocks that she gets to play with so that she can understand math and addition and subtraction and things like that. But what really, really, really puts me in awe about her is her mind and just the way it
Mhm.
ticks. If I could get into her brain one day and just see what it's doing inside of her head, I think it would be like the best field trip ever. But the other day we were driving in the car and Tavi is at this point where she's just wanting to talk. And some days it's like, well, what did you do? I don't remember. But then there are days where she comes in and she starts the conversation.
Mhm.
And so we were driving and we were listening to music and she kind of just stopped singing and she was like, Mom, what is really easy for you? What's something that's
Mhm.
really easy for you? And I told her
That's a
sleeping.
question.
Right. Isn't that a question? Like my 6-year-old is just thinking and then she's just like, I need to ask my mom this. What's something that's really
A
easy
young
for you?
philosopher.
Right. And so I told her sleeping and she chuckled. And then she said, but what's something that's really hard for you?
Mhm.
And I told her parenting and she
Mhm.
laughed. Like as in like, aha.
Mhm.
And so I said, well, what's really hard for you? And she said sleeping.
Hmm.
And I just think that, and it's so true. Oh my God, getting her to go to sleep is ridiculously challenging, but I think it's hilarious that she's so witty
Mhm.
that she took what was easiest for me to do and made it the most challenging thing for her to do because she kind of knew in her brain that I would have a reaction to it.
Mhm.
And I can't remember what she said was really hard for her, but it was another thing that I was just like, who is this little girl?
Mhm.
Like, that's that part in parenting where you're like, wow, you're doing this. Like, you are really doing a great job. And it just makes me smile. And I'm very proud of myself, but I'm just very proud of who this little girl is becoming. So that is my Tavi tale. Those critical questions that she's asking is just, it lets me know that I'm on the right track. So thank you
Yeah,
so much for listening to my Tavi tale.
of course. Of course.
And
Thank you for
go
sharing. Thank you for sharing
no
that. I think it's
problem.
so reflective of like you as a parent creating safe spaces for your child to just express themselves and ask critical questions and get real answers. Not every child is afforded that opportunity. So that's a, kind of, I'm commending you and your parenting style. As
Thank you.
we all should emulate that.
Thank you. You have me over here all emotional and
Oh.
stuff. We're not doing that. We are not doing that, Quincy Kofi Swatson. No, thank you. I wholeheartedly appreciate that. But like I said, that's that moment that you're like, oh goodness, I'm really doing something right. Like
Yeah. We
this
gotta
girl is
take
a
those moments
thinker.
and pat ourselves on the back as parents because we did that.
Yeah,
Like, I was like, "I did that." Like, I think about my children, and, like, they still alive. You know? I got them
that part.
alive. They done ate their clothes. Like, I did that. So
Yes.
we all gotta just, really, take a moment to be thankful, that we learned it. We're all doing it for the first time. The first time, each child is the first time because
Yeah.
that child's so unique, and you gotta learn a whole new person and how to grow them, how to support them. The same thing that works for my oldest son does not work for my youngest son at all.
Yeah.
So, those small wins we gotta really, we gotta celebrate.
Yeah. And now is the time to celebrate you and your parenting and your story because that was a perfect segue and to tell us about your personal parenting journey. And while you do that, I'm going to fall back and let you tell us. I will be taking questions and taking notes because you've been doing this for a while. So the mic is all yours.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you so much. This is once again, like I said earlier, an honor to share my story. And my story really revolves about, and I thought about this about like you know, I'm gonna take a page from Tavia's book, to think about like what's the most difficult part of parenting and what's the easiest part of parenting. And for me, it's like I mentioned, like how different my children are. And it really pushes me as a parent to learn. My oldest child, is very easygoing. He listens the first time I say something. He kind of just wants to get to you know, finish whatever the task is as quickly as possible. You say wash the dishes. All right, let me hurry up and wash the dishes so I can go back to doing what I want to do. Um, my youngest child, on the other hand, it is difficult to get him to do anything. He is going to spend more energy trying to not do something than to just do it. But he's such a critical thinker. So he questions everything, and I try to balance by similar to you, like creating a safe space for you to have a real conversation, but he's going to try to flip the conversation and weasel out of whatever responsibility that he has. So learning how to be more patient with him, learning how to like talk him through and even walk him through certain tasks, and continue to motivate him, to create some intrinsic motivation to finish a task. But the thing about him is once he's motivated, he does whatever is put in front of him expertly. My oldest son, he'll do it, but he'll do it the quickest and shortest and sloppiest way just to get it done because he's just trying to move on. He's trying to be compliant and just move on. But my youngest is so methodical and technical with, actually completing a task. So learning like just two different humans, and that's been really, really tough, but really, really enjoyable on the opposite end. Just seeing their talents and how they utilize their talents and trying to create a place to cultivate those talents, has been kind of my parenting journey. Um, you know, I found out I was having a child at 19. He was born after I turned 20. And it was the typical first child, ultra protective, didn't let him like kind of do anything, was super just fragile. Didn't let, for the first 6 months, no one could hold them without, just washing their hands and sanitizing. And I'm right there, like, don't drop my child. And then you have your second child. I was quite a bit older. I was 26, and kind of a little bit more rough with him, a little bit more like, oh, that's fine. People can hold him, so wash your hands. But I wasn't as much of a hot parent. Um, so, just those navigating, like I said, just having two different children, and I think about it every day. They interact with me completely different. They respond completely different to everything. And I don't want either one to feel like they get special treatment. But I want them both to feel like they get a personalized treatment for who they are as people and who they're growing up to be. And that kind of like moves into like co-parenting and how difficult co-parenting is because you can, kind of manage your household. And I had to learn really early on is I can't implement kind of my household on to the other household. I can have a discussion. I can talk about preferences. I can talk about, what I would like to see or, try to align some of those things. But at the end of the day, I had to at some point be okay with, hey, she's a parent. She, loves, our child just as much as I love our child. We may have some differences of opinions on how to, care for our child, but nothing is out of from a negative point of view. And as long as I think that, and and I know that, and I'm confirmed in that, I can, allow kind of some differences to occur and not make it such a big deal. I express how I feel, and we kind of go from there. Great examples of like what school to go to. We live in different places. Some schools might be more convenient. Some schools might have programs that, one parent might really, value higher, and another parent might value something else higher. So just having those conversations about like what school, our child's going to go to, is really, has been tough. And now, my oldest is going to high school next year, and that's what I'm in the middle of right now is figuring out, not only what high school that he wants to go to and giving him some autonomy on that process, but what opportunities he has. I actually just had a conversation with him today. He plays violin and he doesn't really like playing the violin, but it's a requirement in the school he's in, and he's pretty good. And I'm just trying to balance like how much I push him to like practice regularly, and really take it serious, even if he doesn't like it. While still cultivating the things he does like. He likes soccer. He's on two soccer teams, and I'm now a soccer dad with a folding chair in my trunk and going to soccer games Saturday and Sunday mornings. But he enjoys it, and I want to support him in that, and really show how, hey, it's easy to do the things you want to do. How do you show up in the things that you don't want to do? Because later in life, those are going to be very, very valuable skills, and yeah. So I don't know. My parenting journey has been interesting. I feel like, um, the biggest factors of being a parent is co-parenting is tough. You try to make it look easy. You try to be as cordial and as cooperative as possible. But it requires a lot of energy. Each child is unique in their own way. That requires a lot of energy, and you got to really be in tune and in touch with who they are and create spaces for them to talk to you. And that hasn't always been the case. I feel like when I was younger, my oldest child in 20, 21, 22, like I was still figuring it out. So, as I got older, and he started to talk and be able to communicate and have his own autonomy, I'm just learning how to create spaces for him to be vocal about what his needs are and what his wants are and advocate for him at his school, advocate for him, to the other parent, advocate to him for him, even with myself, there's things that, I'm asking him to do and he's advocating against it. And me trying to find that balance of, how much do you push your child because whatever you're requiring from him is valuable. And he'll, he will be thankful for it in the future, but also allowing his advocacy to actually have a voice. Um, there's a small thing I watched the other day about Will Smith, and talked about one of his kids was on this like whip my hair tour or something like that, and she said she didn't want to do it anymore. And he was like, "Well, you got to," and she cut her hair off. And he learned, like, like she was advocating for herself, and he didn't listen, because of a deal he made for her to do something, and that's not what she wanted to do. So learning that balance of making sure you're empowering your children to advocate for themselves, but also pushing them to be the best person they can be. Eli, my youngest son, has no problem advocating for himself at all. He will advocate till his, face is blue. If he don't want to do something, he's going to let you know, and he's going to tell you every reason, point by point, why he doesn't want to do whatever particular task. So I really, I'm happy that he's found his voice in that way, even though, it is a struggle to get him to do whatever I need him to do. But yeah, I mean, that's just a little summary of my parenting ups and downs and my journey and what is the most pressing thing right now in this stage of my parenting journey, what I'm learning.
Okay. There were a lot of great points that you made, and I'm trying to figure out where I want to start.
Hmm.
Um, okay, so let's start with the fact that you have two very, very different personalities that you're raising,
Yes.
co-raising. So
Hmm.
not just you all the time, 100% of the time. So you, and that has a lot to do with the personalities, I'm sure.
Hmm.
Um, my question for you, you mentioned that you raised your first son and you were very, very protective and didn't let anybody hold him for the first 6 months. And you were just really strict in parenting him. But then when it came to your second child, just like most parents, you were like, "Huh, go ahead, hold him, do what you got to do. It's fine."
He's
Do
resilient.
you do you think that how you styled your parenting for even the beginning of their lives made them into who they are now?
I think about that all the time. I think there's a influence, but I think they are who they are. Um, I I think about, when my oldest Q was young, um, he would eat the food you give him. You put food on his plate, he's sitting in his high chair, he would eat it. He'd eat it, Eli, from the young age, his first noise and words were and we would make fun of him all that because it was like all It didn't matter what it was. It was He was just So we laugh about this now because I have a little cousin that comes over sometimes, and you know, Eli, he's very similar to how Eli was when he was a kid, and I tell him about it all the time. Um, to get him to eat food, I would have to tell him he doesn't have to eat it. I'm going to eat it, and he will snatch that food and eat it so quickly just so I couldn't eat it. And I would always tell him the story. He didn't believe it. So my little cousin Nico was over and wasn't eating his food. I'm like, try what I tried for you. I tell you it works. So he takes Nico's food like, you don't want it? Okay, I'm gonna eat it. Nico grabbed the food so quickly, ate it all. Just like, I'm like, that's how you were. You were a very contrarian child at a young age. So I think some of that's just personality. I don't know if it had to like do how much influence it had on how protective I was. I wasn't reckless, but I just gave Eli a lot more freedom to explore. So I think that did influence his ability to understand the world around him, and his interaction with that world and question, what
Mhm.
does it look like to impact this world around me?
Did something happen in between, or did you just kind of learn from experience?
Yeah, I learned from experience. I feel like, as a young parent who doesn't know, what he's doing. Um, I was overcompensating by being overprotective.
Mhm.
As I got more confident in my ability to be a parent, I then, kind of it changed how I interacted. So I definitely think that my youngest got the better parent
Mhm.
from me. Like, he definitely got the better parent.
I mean, but at the same time, while your youngest was getting the better parent, your oldest was also getting that parent.
Yeah, yeah.
You said it. We've only ever parented for the first time the people that we're parenting and
Mhm.
who are living in this world for the first time.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I'm learning. Like, I had all these plans when Sabia was born. Shoot, I had a plan for her to come on her due date, and I didn't do anything in preparation for her to come a week earlier than
Mhm.
she was expected to be here. So already she was telling me, "No, mom, I'm about to shift it up." Like, I was very much a plan person. If it doesn't go the way that I want it to go,
Mhm.
it's not working. And I had to learn humility as a parent to say, sometimes it has to go the way that they're pulling me to take them, you know?
Mhm.
So, I mean, I wouldn't feel bad about that. Eli may have gotten the better version of you, but you're still able to give that version to Q.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. Eli well, I'll say let me rephrase that because I think Q definitely got the more patient version of me. I think Eli gets a very, very patient version of me, but it's not as, it's less patient than Q got. But yeah, so they each got some pros and cons. Q got the more energetic version of me. I was younger. I was 22. Like we would do so much stuff because I had so much
mhm,
energy, and I was still a kid myself. So we had so much fun. I think about like the forts that we would build in the living room with the chairs and the sheets and the pillows and stuff. We do it all the time. Eli got that a few times, but I'm tired. you know, I'm not climbing through or crawling through all that
right.
stuff. I'm tired. So, Q got the more energetic, more patient, more cautious parent. Eli got a more mature, a more, familiar, and just a more well-rounded parent.
That's fair. I like that. I like that. Um, do they get along?
Yeah, I mean, so Eli is a he is an outward expresser of love. You know, he says he loves you all the time. He just randomly, we'll just be driving. He's like, Dad, I love you. Like, hey, I love you too. Like, he wants to hug you. He wants to hold you. He's the one that comes downstairs and jumps in my bed. I got to kick him out. Like, you got your own bed, bro. You can't be sleeping in my bed all the time. Sometimes he sleeps wild, but he wants to just be there. So he expresses love to Q so much. Q's more reserved. He wants his own space. He's not a very physical touch person. So you just have like Eli just loves Q so much, and you can tell he just that's his big brother. Like you can't tell him any. I mean, it's so interesting because like anytime I'm like, "Hey, where y'all want to eat?" Oh, wherever Q wants to eat, or it's always whatever Q wants, whatever Q wants. And I have to talk to Q about it because he takes advantage of it sometimes. He makes really unfair trades with him. That one of Eli's pizzas, like, let me get an extra slice. Let me get one of your slices, and I'll, something stupid. And Eli's like, sure, whatever, we're here. And it's
He just
like,
wants to please.
pardon?
He just wants to please his brother.
Yeah, he loves his brother so much. So they get along. Q at first, like Q was so happy to have a little brother. He was the only child. So happy to get a little brother. And then he got a little brother, and it was just he would cry and he would be, he was annoying to him. So there was a phase when they were young where Q just did not like having a little brother.
Yeah.
Now that they're older and they get to play together and do things together, it becomes a lot more like they're a lot more compatible now. So Q plays soccer. All Eli wants to do is practice soccer and learn how to play with Q, and try to compete. So it's really interesting. Q played chess, and all Eli's trying to do is learn how to play chess. He just wants to be his older brother. So, um, you know, yeah, they get along, but I am working on just continuing to enforce Q to be a softer older brother to him, a more
Yeah.
welcoming older brother, and a more inviting older brother.
That's awesome though.
Mhm,
And it's even awesome how you're navigating that growth and development in your boys, just
mhm,
allowing Q to see where maybe he is taking advantage and maybe he needs to adjust,
mhm,
to be a little bit more compassionate, and then showing Eli that you got to stand up for yourself when it comes to your brother sometimes.
mhm.
um, Eli sounds a lot like Tavia, like
Okay.
so much like Tavia, to the point where Tavia doesn't have any older siblings, but she will like adopt an older sibling.
Mhm,
And I can watch and say something's not right, and she's like, "No, they're fine," and no, they're nice to me, and I'm just like, "But that wasn't nice, Tavia."
mhm,
So, yeah, it's to the point where I'm like, "Oh, maybe we need to talk some more." But
mhm,
it is very interesting that you do have such dynamic personalities that you are raising. And you mentioned you pointed out a lot of things that you kind of mentioned co-parenting being difficult because of or due to, and the decisions that you have to make, the values that you and mom hold, the opportunities that you're trying to give your boys, the balance of just how you parent and how you parent each child differently. And then the energy piece that it takes to not
mhm,
only parent two different personalities, but also handle mom, of the boys.
mhm.
And so, my question to you, other than art, what are some self care strategies that you use to just reset and, what is it? Relax, relate, release.
Mhm. Okay. Well, I mean, other than art and exercise, I mean, exercise is a really big one. I mean, I look
Mhm.
forward to like I'm on a schedule of times. Like you know, could go to the gym a couple times a week, and I'm doing a lot of cardio. I'm playing some sports, so that really is a relaxing release. One of my tennis coaches always had a saying about, when you're on the tennis court, that little green ball is the only thing that matters in that time. And you really feel that, like just out there when I'm playing tennis, nothing else matters in that moment. And, you're just hitting that green ball, and so that's one of the things. But I also do a lot of self care, yoga, really into yoga, especially hot yoga. Like I said, running, and yeah, I mean that's really those are some of the things I do. Just meditating, taking some time to just like be one with myself, get myself in harmony. I can always like feel when I'm out of harmony. Music also. Like I
Mhm.
am a lover of music, and I have all the best playlists. I'm a guitarist, so we always have the best music taste or taste in anything. But
I felt that.
just as a side note, I was just at a kickback, and the music sucked. And they always put me on the odds, and everybody's like, "Oh, who's this? Like, who's that? Like, put me on. Like, this is a vibe." I'm always the music person anywhere I go. Um, but yeah, music. I listen to a lot of music. I actually don't watch TV that much. I just rather listen to an EP.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
Speaking of music, I was recently at your art show,
Yes.
where you hosted some of your artists that were displayed,
Mhm,
and the music was phenomenal there. And I was only there for the beginning part. I was like, this is a good DJ.
mhm,
So you're
mhm,
telling the truth. You're telling
mhm.
the truth. Kudos to
I
you.
really appreciate you attending. That was like, I was so intentional. I am half Ghanaian. So I wanted to have this like global Black identity immersive experience. So there was some global Black food, global Black music, and global Black art. Just bringing a taste of that side of me and that culture. Bringing that to life. So I was very particular about the music. Like, hey, these are, So and I really appreciated the great DJ that went
It was
above and
good.
beyond what
Yeah.
I expected. So appreciate it.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you ever do host another event, exhibit, please let me know. I will absolutely blast it on my social media. For me, I don't often take the time to get out and do that kind of thing. But I said to myself, I've been talking to Quincy. He's been telling me about the show. I need to get there. And I was so glad that I did. I was so glad because I don't if I'm doing something, it's usually like a date night or something,
Mhm.
but for me, that was like a date with me.
Yeah.
I was able to literally just sit and look at all the art, read all the descriptions, and just enjoy. It was like a
Mhm.
very calming night for me,
Mhm.
and then to listen to the panelists was amazing. But I digress. We are coming down to the wire on
Okay.
the Q&A and the storytelling, but I do have to elevate, you know, I want this podcast to be a community.
Mhm.
And there are not just moms in the community. So I really like to bring the voices of dads whenever
Mhm.
I know that they will contribute
Mhm.
to our village, to our community. So I truly appreciate that, that you're here, that you're sharing your story. And your story is actually a very beautiful story. You're co parenting,
Mhm.
not just one, but two children,
Mhm.
and the relationship that you have cultivated with your sons is amazing. Like you can just hear it just in the little bit of time that you shared. So I appreciate that. I do have one question because as moms, we often find community with other parents.
Mhm.
And I'm listening to you and I'm asking you about self care. And I wonder, is that something that you have with other dads? Like,
Mm.
is it, and even if it's just, it doesn't have to be single dads. It could be any type of father. Even if they're older fathers who their kids are adults, do you find community? Do you
Mm.
guys get together? Do you guys share stories to help uplift each other?
So I'll give you a little sneak peek of 'cause I wanted to like steer away from talking about like some of the turbulent times. But I did go through tough custody battle, right? And I have two children, and there's two moms, so I have two co-parenting situations. And in that battle, um, I found a lot of community with a lot of dads that were in the same struggle.
Mhm,
And there were so many that were fighting for their children and the experience of the court system, and how there is a built-in incentive almost to not have the fathers in the child's life as much. And there was a lot of like angry fathers. And in that community, I didn't feel like it was helpful because it just created and seeded disdain. And
mm,
that's not healthy for a proper co-parenting relationship. So even though I went through a nasty battle and I, eventually got custody and, was able to have an equal role in my children's life, um, I had to let that go. So the community that I found that surrounded me in that turbulent time, I had to disconnect from that in a way because it would have continued to fuel the disdain. And now this is the person I got to work with, you know? Like I can't work with a person that I'm still pissed off about because they just, like whatever
Yeah.
just happened, and you really gotta like move on and let that go because it only
Yeah.
hurts the child. And I say that to moms, I say it to dads, like whatever has occurred in the past, you cannot hold that over. You gotta give them grace. Like you gotta
Yeah.
give them grace. This is the other parent of your child. You got to give them grace, and you got to move forward. Learn how to move forward. So I think my community now, like I have a lot of friends that are married with children, and we are in community. Some that are co-parenting, and that we're in community. But I try to stick away from like I said, it's really easy to build community around a common enemy or a common some
Yeah.
hatred, honestly. So I try to stick away from that. But out of this, there was some stuff that did start out of that time, that kind of got hindered during the COVID epidemic. But it was like a dope black dad series, and we were really pushing collaboratively to create. I would love to restart this because it really died in COVID, but we were trying to create a day a month where we just picked a cultural institution where black dads pulled up with their kids. So if it's the Children's Museum, if it's a science center, if it's Phipps Conservancy, if it's whatever, just pick the spot. We'll have a scheduled 12 spots throughout the year, where we just come through on that day. We just flooded with black dads and their kids. So I really, now that I think about that, I really want to like spark that back up. Um, and I was, part of that advocacy was trying to get like these cultural institutions to give discounts, on that day. Because like I was working with families who were struggling financially, and some of their thing was like, hey, it's expensive to go to these places. I got 2, 3 kids, $25
Yeah.
each. This is $100 day. And
Just to get in.
pardon?
I said just to get in.
Just to get it in, not even food, whatever. And some
Right.
of as I was talking to some of these institutions, they're like, "Hey, we have discounts for people, getting food assistance and such." And in most of those cases, the moms were getting those cards or that assistance, so the dads didn't have that. So yeah, the
Mm.
moms can take them for $1, right, with their assistance card, but the dads didn't have access to that. So it was an even further barrier to having access to some of these moments of taking your kid to some of these places. So just kind of evening that playing field and giving access both to mothers and fathers to have those opportunities to really build and connect in these institutions with their kids. I think it's really important. So if anybody's hearing this out there, that has a way to help support and inspire this movement and pick it back up, please reach out. I would love to connect and talk about how we can just continue to move that forward, because that's my dream. I just can't wait to go to the zoo and just feel black dads and their kids, just black joy, and showcasing that we are here. We are black dads. We are part of the equation. We are supportive. We are, participatory parties in the parenting and upbringing of our children. Yeah.
That is awesome. And I truly pray and hope that that comes back and
Mhm.
breathes like the biggest breath of life.
Mhm.
Um, it would be awesome to see. And it's also awesome that you said it here first that we need to restart it. So
Yeah.
thank you for sharing.
So when it happens, we're gonna show this clip and say right here
Yeah,
today.
absolutely. I support it, and I shoot. If I can get the group together and do a little panel with y'all, I would
Oh,
absolutely
that would be
rock
great.
that
Let's do
out.
that. Let's make
I
that happen.
I support black dads.
Mhm.
I mean, I support it. I didn't have the best model of my own.
Mhm.
So I support when I see black dads doing their thing. So we're going to make that happen. Absolutely. Yeah, so again, thank you for coming on. Thank you for the insight and the wisdom and the vulnerability for just sharing your story. We are going to move on to our game, which
Ooh,
is tea
okay.
time.
Okay.
Tea time. This is where my sister's always like, "Bam, bam, bam, bam." So, tea time is a game of rapid fire.
Okay.
I have a bucket full of questions right here, and I did get to add some new questions into my bucket for season 3. So, some of these questions are deep, some of them are literally just for fun. There are more deep questions in here that I have added, so just be prepared. You will have 3 minutes to answer as many questions as you can, just so we can get a little bit more insight into who you are. But we absolutely learned a lot about you today. So I'm excited to see what your responses will be. Are you ready, Mr. Quincy Kofi Swatson?
I'm ready.
Awesome. Let me share the clock so that you can see how much time you have and you won't think I'm trying to play you. It's big.
Okay. 3 minutes.
3 minutes on the clock, and we are ready to rock and roll. First question is, which emoji do you use the most?
Probably the heart hand emoji.
The heart hand emoji. Second question, what smell instantly makes you happy?
Vanilla.
Mm, vanilla. You might not have a great answer to this, but what is the last TV show or movie you binge watched?
I've been watching The Diplomats. That it's a show on Netflix, Diplomat.
Diplomat. Have I seen that? I wonder. I don't know. Okay, this is a big one. You see a social media post of a controversial parenting choice. Are you the perfect parent troll or the gotta figure out what works for you parent?
Um, I'm not a troll at all. So the opposite of a troll, I do not comment on controversial posts because, it doesn't do much for me.
That part. If you could instantly master any skill, what would it be?
Singing. I can't sing. I can't hold a note. I might be tone deaf. If I could sing, y'all wouldn't get me to shut up. I would have sung 5 times already.
I'm not mad at it. Okay, what cartoon shaped your childhood?
Hey Arnold.
Yes. That's a good one. I would say recess.
That's
Morning person or night owl,
both. I,
depending on what it is you're doing.
I go to sleep late and I wake up every morning at the same time, no matter what time I go to sleep. So I'm a
No,
napper
thank you.
though. I'm definitely a napper, a midday
I got
napper.
you.
So that's where I get my sleep. Good midday
I
nap.
got you. What is your go-to comfort food?
Pasta. Any type.
What kind? Any
Any
type.
type. I mean, I make pasta from scratch. I love making it from scratch, but there's also some really good Italian restaurants. Dianoio's and there's another one in Lawrenceville, Piccolo Forno. Great pasta.
Awesome. What small things bring you joy?
Flowers,
Okay.
plants, anything that grows. I can turn around. I have a lot of plants everywhere, just growing things. I have a tree back here
Awesome.
that's been growing. I got this big monstera over here. I have plants everywhere.
I love that.
Hmm.
Okay, last question.
Hmm.
What always makes you giggle?
Oh, that's the hardest one. My friends. I feel like I have the funniest friend group. Like they're just funny. I feel like that's part of a qualification. Like if you're not funny, you can't hang with me.
Hey, that's fair. I like that. I like that. Well, thank you so much for playing tea time. I got to learn so much about you,
Hmm.
including that men like flowers too. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
There's
for
there's
sure.
a there's a video going around that is like basically questioning what the equivalent of flowers to a man is. Um, so I
Okay.
guess flowers work for men too.
Yeah. Yeah. Um,
That's awesome.
I want to thank you so much for creating this space and this platform, for moms to talk and then inviting dads to talk. I really felt heard and seen to share my story. There's so much more to it, but I really wanted to give folks a glimpse of kind of, like I said, the father side, and for you creating this platform to do that, I'm forever thankful. I wish your Nailed It podcast all the success. I look forward to subscribing and watching all the videos as they drop. So thank you so much for all that you do.
Thank you. Thank you. You stole my shine.
Oh,
But thank you. I did want to take the time to thank you again for being on our show. I really, really enjoyed listening to your story. I have not met your boys, but I can tell the love that you have for
mhm,
them. I can tell the time and the effort that you put into making sure that each child gets what they need, which
mhm.
is equitable, um, equitable parenting.
Yeah.
But I want to highlight the one thing that you said that I really, really liked
Mhm,
to kind of just wrap up the type of parent you are. You said that nobody's getting specialized treatment, but each child is getting personalized treatment.
mhm,
And you've explained just how each child is different and just how you have to tweak the way you do this for one and the way you do this for the other, and just kind of pour into them so that they can also see that they are different.
mhm,
And I love that, and I thank you for that, and it just shows the level of care that you
mhm.
put into parenting. And as a Black dad, that is, to go with your group, that is pretty dope. So
Oh,
thank
thank
you
you.
for joining us. At this time, if you would like to share any last encouraging words to any of our listeners, whether they be dads, whether they be moms, whether they be anybody who's a part of the village of
Mhm.
taking care of children, we would love to give you that opportunity to share that.
I don't think I have anything profound. All I'll say is, we are all here on this earth figuring it out. Give people grace. There's a difference between people intentionally trying to hurt you, and maybe not intentionally, but that impact happening and they hurting you.
Mm.
Try to give grace in those spaces and move on, especially if you're co-parenting. We're all going to make mistakes, but we got to assume that it's not intentional. And we gotta, just continue to figure out ways to work together.
I love that. I love that so much. And thank you for that. It doesn't have to be profound, but it will definitely be heard. So,
Mhm,
thank you for sharing that. And I have three questions that I always ask every parent who comes on the show because I just, I'm taking some data and trying to see if it's all very similar. So, is parenting hard?
yes.
You said that without hesitation. Absolutely.
But some of the most difficult things are the most rewarding.
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
But are they still standing though?
Barely, but yes.
They getting up one way or another. That is fair. So, what do you want to proudly tell our guests today?
This dad is nailing it.
Yes, he is. He is nailing it. That's where the brum 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 comes in. There you go. You caught right on. He's nailing it, y'all. If you like this episode and you want to hear more personal parenting journeys, please don't forget to subscribe to my social media. That is Nailed It Motherhood Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. We have a TikTok, but I don't ever get on it, so don't worry about that one. But don't forget to follow us on your favorite podcast platform. We also have a website that is naileditmotherhoodpodcast.com for your one-stop shop about our podcast. You can also find some of our Nailed It Motherhood merch online at naileditmotherhoodpodcast.com. We welcome all of your questions, your comments, and your ideas, and we certainly hope to keep the conversation going. Until next time, keep on doing what it is you do. Smooches. Bye, guys. Like, so I'm gonna